Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies, and welcome to a Toshio Reacts video. This should be rather rare an occasion for us, but let's just say I feel inspired by Maximus tonight. I was about to go to bed, and I saw on Facebook in the War Thunder players group that I'm in, someone shared a reference to this video, so I looked it up. And there's how I found it, by the way. But I saw some things in this one. This isn't the first time I've taken a look at this video, but I watched a little more closely, and I saw some things that I thought are just ridiculous, so I felt like sharing those reactions with you today. So with that, here's where we get that from. Here's where the video comes from. Obviously, it's not my video, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Thanks for sharing this with us. And to start off with, as I mentioned, some things in this look absolutely ridiculous, but an individual or a group of people decided to think creatively and share those ideas with us, and that's not a bad thing. So let's get into, well, let's just say, good ideas that would never work in the real world. Okay, so starting off, we see a transport aircraft not designed for precision drop of munitions. Interesting they didn't decide to choose a bomber for this, but there's a crate here. There's a man who walks himself out to the edge of the bay here, and I don't know what the procedure is for this, but if you listen to the audio, you can hear the man's feet just kind of scuffing along as he moves along the deck of this active aircraft, which is kind of interesting that we can hear the shuffling of his feet and not other sounds. And all that is to say that this simulation is not taking into account a lot of things. One of those being the environment this man would be operating in as he's standing about 3 feet from a drop to his death. Oh, well, he is wearing a parachute. He would be just fine, I'm sure, falling into a combat zone out of the back of this aircraft, along with the ordnance he's supposed to deliver. So a large crate looks like a toaster oven with a system that's designed to drop these systematically. So seems a bit expensive. There's probably a better way to accomplish this effect, and my first thought is to drop them out of a bomb bay. But let's see what this option. Also, if you look at the wheels of this, it's perched right at the edge of the bay, and I don't know. Oh my gosh. Does that have those brakes you just kind of like step on like they have on cheap like shopping carts? Is it a shopping cart caster system? Anyway, well, I didn't even notice that before. Let's get into seeing this thing in action. So it's got the Lego Technic thing going on here, and you can see a little arm that releases the munitions, and here showing that it can be operated in several different ways if you feel like dropping them in different patterns just to match your synchronized SOCOM swimmers down on the floor. And here we also see dropping a very large tablet PC, probably some tank toddlers down there that need some entertainment, and you can see that just absolutely minuscule little peg of an arm that's moving along this whole chain here, and I suppose that teeny little piece of stainless steel is enough. And look at the operator just standing there. He does this all the time. Also, the acceleration due to gravity was not modeled properly there. I don't know if you watch, but they fall at a constant rate out of the aircraft, which again, look at this, constant rate of fall, constant and immediate acceleration. Those things are pulling like 200 Gs when they come off that hook, and then 0 Gs as they continue to go at the same speed. The parachute drops, and this is the point where it would fall directly on the solar panel, blocking it, and then get tangled in the vehicle. But no, it falls perfectly. There's no wind in this world. It's easy, the grass isn't even moving. So luckily, in that situation, these would work just perfectly, I'm sure. If you look at the clearly solar panels here, and here's where I'll pause it to show what is happening. So these are solar panels. The vehicle's just been dropped. And so, okay, solar powered, whatever this is, piece of equipment, I could see that working. Up until the point where you cover it with a light blocking cover. I'm not sure if this is a camouflage screen. It looks to be rolled around a spool here, and just by happenstance, it happens to be exactly the same photorealistic color as the surrounding grass. So they must have whipped that up in, you know, maybe it's printing on this side and then unrolling it on that one so it can be just perfectly matching the grass around it. But you can see that it casts a fairly dark shadow here, even without total coverage yet achieved of the vehicle. We can assume this is basically blocking, once it's fully extended, all sunlight from these solar panels. So the question begs, why the solar panels? And we saw this screen deploys immediately. In other words, it's a solar-powered vehicle that blocks all sunlight immediately on being deployed. Genius. Then again, little things like this, that's just part of the development process, right? Okay, besides the fact that, well, I don't trust that suspension either, but let's keep going. There it is. It's totally hidden, except of course that part that doesn't have a cover for some reason. And we zoom out of the simulation, and my goodness, it's not even being rendered anymore. It feels like War Thunder. It's 2 clicks away. There's no point in rendering that thing that can shoot at you. Of course, in a in a simulation, it's not gonna show up. But yeah, I doubt that quite a bit. And you can see beautiful grassy field. Here come some Soviet tanks, so you know they're the bad guys, right? And what do we have? They're advancing. There is a drone, probably built in Israel, by the way. Not sure if you're aware of this, but a lot of drones are developed and built in Israel, exported to other nations. And when I think it was when I was in Israel. Oh, here we go. The tank is... What? That's not how... That's not how this works! That's not how any of this works! Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I need to back up a little bit here. So... Let's turn down the speed. Okay. Oh my gosh. This is... Hey, you're still on the couch. There's a bedroom. So, this vehicle detects... I'm going to turn down the volume because it sounds a little weird when you slow it down. It detects enemy tanks somehow with all of its sensors covered. Oh, now there's a thing sticking out. That wasn't showing up in the... Let me go back just a little bit. When they were hiding this thing, it didn't have a peg sticking out of it, did it? Let's see that deploy a little bit. Yeah, no peg sticking out there. No peg. And no little sensor peg. No sensor is sticking out. And yet, you can see here, look, no sensor is sticking out. And then, when the tanks get near, suddenly it has this very obvious peg sticking up like morning wood, highlighting its whole position, which is presumably the sensor that it uses to detect the presence of enemy tanks. And then this ridiculousness happens. So the projectile is launched similar to an ATGM, but that's not an ATGM. The way they're stowed, the way they're represented, it just looks like, I don't know, maybe a 90 millimeter standard round? And yet it's acting a little bit more like a rocket cartridge, which is something that has been attempted in the past. What I'm not seeing is any kind of stabilization or guidance on these, so they would suffer the issues of rocket cartridges, which are not a popular form of ammunition, for the reason that they have almost no stability in flight, and either using a standard round out of a barrel or a stabilized rocket or missile is a lot more accurate. So these would have to be about, I'd say, 20 feet from a tank to be able to hit them, but let's see their effect now that we have a very clear idea. Yep, there's an explosive launch here, so it could be, yep, there is what looks to be a firing mechanism attached to the rear with an exposed, it looks like a primer. So I think the idea here is that it is a round, a standard ballistic round with a heavy casing, and yet the casing also takes off. I just can't tell you. I can't tell you what this is. It's not acting like a rocket, and it's not acting like a cannon round or a bullet. It's a little something different, and I think it's something that just doesn't exist. And we can speed things up again here. These tanks are just getting totally destroyed in the magical world where this thing can even deploy itself. So we'll go back to full speed, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to talk about this, but there you have it. Some absolute ridiculousness just going on here. Two handfuls of ludicrosity, and look at that. Hits either the turret ring, I think they're just perfect accuracy, and absolutely takes down that tank, no issues. For a round that again was maybe 90-100 millimeters, it didn't really look like it was any larger than that. It's hard to tell the scale, but they looked to be about 90 millimeter rounds, hitting these Soviet MBTs in the strong parts of their armor, and just completely one-shot, absolute critical failure of the defenses of the vehicle, with the rocket-powered escape turret that you see on those carousel-type autoloaders. So there we have it. We could have been building this instead of all the other things we're building right now. Anyway, I'm not meaning to mock this at all. I think it is ridiculous, but I think it does provide some food for thought. And is that a face in the smoke? There we go. There's a self-insert of the creator. You can see there clearly eyes, nose, and mouth, something of a chin. I think he's put that there just as a sort of a watermark so that no one tries to steal his idea. We can zoom in on that and enhance, and that is just a securing of his copyright for the day when NATO decides to standardize this idea. He'll have his patent already established. Okay. I think I've said about enough about that. Catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.